What's up, wrestling world? I'm Andy Perez with 411mania.com, and this weekend is WWE Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. TLC matches have provided us with some of the most spectacular moments in WWE history. I mean, who can forget this, and that, and these? Which is when we notice that just about every top TLC match list ends with either SummerSlam 2000 or WrestleMania 17. And rightfully so, they're great matches, but with no disrespect to Brother Devon, we're going to be counting down the top 5 TLC matches that aren't SummerSlam 2000 or WrestleMania 17. Starting off with his pick, giving some of his thoughts on the most recent addition to this list, is writer for Post Wrestling and face of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel, Andrew Thompson, with his take on AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose.
This was a very illustrious year for one AJ Styles. Firstly, having the highly regarded match against Shinsuke Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom, and then several weeks later, he made his debut at the Royal Rumble, had a WrestleMania match, and then not even a full year into his run in WWE, AJ Styles went on to become WWE champion by defeating Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley. And man, it was this match specifically, it was one of the more better TLC matches that WWE presented this decade, actually. And you know, it's highly remembered for AJ Styles doing the 450 through the table on Ambrose. Also, you have the moment when Ambrose suplexed AJ Styles through the stack of chairs, and then AJ's pants ripped or something like that, and it became like a meme on social media. And then, of course, at the conclusion of the match, Moxley was climbing up the rungs, and he almost had the WWE title. And then James Ellsworth surprised everybody, turned on him, and then AJ Styles held on to his WWE title. And that is going to wrap it up for my segment here. Andy, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me a part of this, and I hope the rest of the video goes smooth.
Thanks, Andrew. Great first name, by the way. I'll be sending over a PowerPoint presentation for a wrestling stable pitch later today. Until then, we have 411 veteran and host of the 411 On Wrestling podcast, Blake Lovell, transporting us back to 2006 to the start of the C Nation and his war with the Rated R Superstar.
Edge versus John Cena, a memorable feud with many memorable matches, but the one that people probably remember the most is Edge versus John Cena at Unforgiven 2006 in a TLC match. Edge won at SummerSlam in John Cena's hometown of Boston, and then it was John Cena returning the favor in Edge's hometown of Toronto. It was arguably the best match the two ever had together, and the TLC stipulation only raised the stakes. John Cena hit the FU on Edge through 2 tables off a ladder in what is undoubtedly one of the most creative spots in any TLC match we've ever seen, and it added another layer to a red-hot storyline featuring 2 of the WWE's best, and it only seemed fitting that one of the best WWE feuds in the mid-2000s culminated in one of the best TLC matches in company history.
And next, to give his thoughts on a match that he was lucky enough to witness in the flesh, we have 411 writer and bleeding heart poet Tony Acero presenting soon-to-be best in the world CM Punk versus the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy.
So I had the pleasure of revisiting CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy, and this match in particular, I have a very soft spot for it because I was actually there. It was a weekend full of wrestling badassery, and it culminated in the SummerSlam event. So I kind of love this match for a multitude of reasons. In terms of the actual clashing of styles, it was not pretty. This was not a beautiful match by any means, but I think every spot had a punch. It was hard hitting. This is Jeff Hardy from 11 years ago, so he's a little bit more spry than he is now, a little bit more willing to take some risks, and nothing can prove that more than that, 3,000-foot ladder that he jumped off of. And from that point on, it's all facial expressions and body language. CM Punk is just shocked that Jeff is getting up, and then Punk wins, holds the title up, lights go out, they come back on, and The Undertaker's underneath him. And that is just, man, beautiful. And I'm not going to say this was CM Punk's coming out party. I don't think he did that quite yet, but this was definitely a springboard, if not a catapult. I loved it.
Ooh, I just love a good Undertaker return to get me hyped, especially because it's finally my turn to take a crack at the list, and it's a match that some consider the Forgotten TLC match. We may not have the first 2 on the list, but we have TLC 3 from SmackDown 2001. thought we'd seen it all after SummerSlam 2000 and WrestleMania 17. Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardy Boys gave us everything. Swantons off ladders, quadruple stacked tables, 3Ds on Lita, spears from the heavens above. We thought we'd seen it all, but we were wrong. Add Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit to the mix and the dynamic shifts immediately. We had the running story of Chris Benoit getting injured early, missing the diving headbutt through the table on the outside. We had spots with the mega 3D through the table, Jeff leapfrogging the ladder with a big leg drop to Bubba, Benoit returning to get a concerto to his broken ribs, and then finally toughing it out to gain the gold. It's a wonderful mesh of Attitude Era chaos and New Age innovation, and many argue that it actually rivals the first two as one of the best of all time, but that's an argument for a different video. For now, closing out the list with the greatest TLC match that ain't the first two, he sees you when you're sleeping and he sees the Shield triple powerbomb Ryback through the announce table. Calling in from the North Pole, Santa giving his take on the Shield versus Team Hell No and Ryback from TLC 2012. Ho, 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 ho. Hello, boys and girls. As you know, I am always in the gift-giving mood, and when you look back at the greatest gifts in modern wrestling, you have Drew McIntyre's redemption story, Daniel Bryan's return, Zack Ryder's one-legged tights, and at the top of that list, The Shield. It was Dean Ambrose before he was Jon Moxley, Seth Rollins before he led a cult, and Roman Reigns before we loved him, then hated him, then loved to hate him, and it was their first match on the main roster. And though it was a non-traditional TLC ending in a pinfall rather than grasping at a floating object like a cookie in the night, still, with ring partners like Daniel Bryan, Kane, and vegan YouTube food star Ryback, jolly greatness was the only option, and that's what we got. Spears through barricades, bodies thrown from ladders, tag team powerbombs galore, and no matter their age, everybody in that building went home as giddy as a child on Christmas night. And speaking of, I have work to do, but thank you 411 Mania viewers, and let us know in the comments what is your favorite TLC match. And next year, who knows, maybe we'll be doing a Firefly Inferno Top 5.